which we're all hoping is able to take place early next week before we leave for Texas. So, it looks like everything is going to work out, and our training staff has really worked hard to try to make sure that those appointments were set up, which aren't the easiest sometimes at the hospital. And the hospital's really done a nice job of pushing to get those guys in so they can go on the first trip. But I'd be lying to you if I told you I wasn't a little bit nervous, because we all know things can go haywire on that side. We won't have any control over it. But anyway, we've at least been able to get back to close to normal. And once we get these guys back, we should be there. But it's definitely set us back, and it set us back at a really rough time, especially when the pitchers are building, and you don't want to have to start over there. And the ramp up was going really, really well. And then, kind of a little bump in the road, but like we talked earlier, these guys have been really accountable, and I know they're doing their work to be ready to go. And we're going to get a chance to scrimmage tomorrow and Sunday, which is a blessing. Thanks to our awesome grounds crew, Andy and Tony, and those guys got out there, and they moved a lot of snow. I mean, I'm a pretty optimistic guy, but I just didn't think it was going to happen for a while on Banks Field with as much snow as we had and as cold as the temps were. And if you'd have told me a week ago that we would have been out there practicing yesterday, I would have called you a liar. But those guys did it. They found a way to get it done, and that is going to really pay dividends, I think, next week is that after we have a chance to get outside these next 2 days in scrimmage. And then, just Jack Dreyer, just really super disappointing and super sad for Jack. He had done everything right, worked his tail off all summer, was in tremendous shape, and then, basically threw a real short simulated game early in the fall, his first time out, had some discomfort, and then he did throw his next bullpen and thought everything was fine. Went back out a week later, and 2 pitches in, knew something was wrong, and unfortunately had to have surgery on his elbow. And so we lose our potential number 1 starter and one of the best arms in the country before the season starts. So all of us are super disappointed for Jack. He's had a rough go with some other stuff that he's had to fight through, and he's always done it. And but unfortunately, he's not going to be there with us this spring. I would say that anytime you lose your potential number 1 is not a good thing. But if it was ever going to happen, and if it was ever going to be the year for it to happen, I think we do have the guys who can step up and fill the void, and it's definitely going to affect things, but I do think we can overcome it.
Coach, the next question from Joe Healy.
Hey, Coach, I'm curious your thoughts on the format of the Big Ten schedule this year. It's obviously a unique setup, but I have to imagine 44 games beats 30 or 32 or some number like that. So maybe it's a mixed bag for you, but I'm curious your thoughts on the format.
Well, Joe, here's the deal. It's the best we could do with what we were given. We had asked to possibly have one, if we weren't going to have non-conference opponents, at least one, because in our league we only have 13 teams, so you have to have a bye. There's an odd number of teams. With all the other things that were dictated, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I don't think any coach in the league is happy with what is being thrown at us, but we'll make the best of it. It's over now. If 44 is the number, we were hoping that maybe we could just be given a number of weeks, because we're not playing week 1 and week 2, and just maybe schedule 4 games each weekend would have made the scheduling a lot easier. But that was not the case. We had to stick to the 44 games. So 44 games in 13 weeks with 13 teams, the math doesn't work out real well. And so the 3-team pod is really the only thing we can do to eliminate a team setting out another week during the season with bye. So you'll have those 3 teams playing each other 4 games that weekend, and then the 10 other teams will be playing head to head. There'll be a hodgepodge of head-to-head series that will have to be played as 4-game series to get to 44 in those 13 weeks. But the one real positive to the schedule is that if someone would go down to COVID, let's say we were playing somebody and they went down to COVID, there's a chance to get one of the teams from the pod that's the closest to you to be able to jump out of that pod and play a head-to-head, where that way it would possibly save teams setting out when they were healthy if there was a COVID shutdown from the opponent, and that's a nice thing. And then the other positive to that schedule is that with the 3-game head-to-head series mixed in the second half of the season, if let's say we were playing Northwestern and we were both down 2 games, we could turn that 3-game series into a 4-game series to catch up to try to get to 44. So I think you'll see as we move down the road, that there's going to be more 4-game series as we go. There'll be some change. There's even been talk that if we were playing, let's use Northwestern again, since we're close, if weather happened and we only got 2 games in, that maybe we could play a Tuesday to make up that game if the administration's allowed, as long as we stayed under the 44. So that's a lengthy answer, but that's my feelings on the schedule. It was the best that we could do with what we were given, and those are the pros and the cons to it, in my opinion.
The next question, Coach, from Tyler Devine.
Rick, when we talked a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, you said, no fans at this point, but you're trying to make sure that, or figure out a way for people to be able to stream or watch the games. Has there been any progress with that? Yeah,
it sounds like it's going to be the same rule that the other sports who have played have had, with four family members per player. And I know we'll be getting this information out. James will be getting it out, but I think I'm answering this correctly, that all games will be streamed. I know the first weekend's games down in Texas will be streamed. We will have an announcer who's watching the stream broadcast the game from his home or wherever he's at. He won't be traveling with us, but I do believe there's an opportunity for most, if not all, the games to be streamed. So that's a good thing, especially with the 44 conference games. I could have kept going on that a little bit too. You always think about this. I mean, this will be the toughest schedule that we've probably ever played. I mean, it's every single game is a Big Ten game. Every single game counts. All 44 count. These first 2 weekends do count in the standings. So yeah, it'll be crazy.
The next question, Coach, from Kyle Hoosman.
Hey, Coach. I wanted to ask about the 7 seniors that you got back with the free COVID year. How big is it to have that type of leadership, the veteran leadership, to come back this season?
Well, it's definitely been big. Those guys had worked so hard last year, and we were in such a good place. And then, for it to end like it did for everyone, it was super disappointing and super sad. And just so happy that those guys found a way to be able to come back. We're missing a few of the guys. Not all of them were able to come, but the majority did. And to have that kind of leadership come back was super important and super big for us, dealing with all that we had to deal with this summer. And then this fall, when we came back and had the outbreaks early, and getting our young guys to where they needed to be in the clubhouse and with our culture and their work habits. Those guys have done a phenomenal job.
The next question, Coach, from Dargan Southard.
Without Jack, what does the weekend rotation scene kind of look like? And knowing going into most of those weekends, you're going to need 4 starters. How does that alter things, and who are kind of at the top of that list?
Well, there's a couple options. Trenton Wallace has done everything in his power and has performed extremely well to be the Friday night starter. The thing with Trenton is that Trenton is also one of our top hitters and is going to be a starter probably in left field on the days that he doesn't pitch. And then, and this is, myself and our pitching coach, Robin Lunn, and our staff, Drew Irvine has pitched extremely well to this point. And in my opinion, could be the Friday night starter as well. And I guess what we're going to look at is what helps the team the most. Is it having Trenton in left field with possibly our best defense on the field and Drew throwing on Friday night, or is it better to have Trenton out there and then Drew coming back on the second game Saturday? So all those are decisions we're trying to make. With Drew being in the COVID protocol, pretty safe to say that we're going to have a chance to look at the Trenton on Friday night, or Trenton the first game this weekend, and then we'll have a chance to possibly flip that if we feel like it's better for the team down the road. But that's kind of where we're at. And then the next two guys up are guys that everybody knows, Cam Bauman and Duncan Davitt. Those are two experienced guys that we know we can give the ball to on the weekend, and they're going to give you a chance to win. Ty Langenberg and Will Sam are two freshmen who have really stepped up and pushed for spots in that rotation, big jumps in strength and their pitchability over the off season, a nice velocity jump from both of those guys. And then two other guys that I feel like have pitched well enough to be at least considered as a starter would be Jackson Payne and then Ben Butel. Both of those guys have thrown very well to this point and pushed to possibly be considered for one of those starter roles. So with those guys, that's what we're looking at on the starter side. And then we feel like we have a decent amount of guys at the back end who can get the job done, with Grant Leonard being back, Trace Hoffman, and then Dylan Nedved.
Any other questions this afternoon for Rick Heller? Rick, we'll circle back to Dargan.
Talking to the guys, I'm sure it took a while to kind of accept that 2020 had to be this unknown season that you didn't really, get to play out. But how much with just about everybody coming back, how much did the excitement of that kind of drive you guys through a lot of this uncertainty?
It definitely does. Just the opportunity to get to go out and play again, is what's driving these guys. They all felt like last year that we could have something special, and that's why they chose to come back. And we have to go out and play, and I think all of you guys know it's a year when we feel really good about our ball club because we've got so many guys back, but I think it's a year where everybody else feels the same way. So I think the talent level of the teams we're going to be playing, everyone's going to be up, and it's going to be a super, super talented league from top to bottom. But to your point, everybody's fired up to get out and play. It's been tough to have to wait, not playing opening weekend and then not playing again this weekend when others are playing. That's been really hard on our guys, but it also is going to make it that much sweeter when we get out there next week.
And then real quick, just has there been any other key position battles, any names from guys who maybe weren't in the mix in 20 that have, gotten their way into conversations?
I think all the names are pretty much the same. It's just trying to manipulate like the infield with the DH. What's the best situation? We've got 5 guys on the infield who can really defend. Michael Seegers is a new player who has played really well, has swung the bat really well. And Andy Nelson is another new player that you guys will learn about, who's played well. But you're talking about Dylan Nedved, Matthew Sosa, Izaya Fullard, Brendan Scher, Tyler Payton. How are you going to get how are you going to get the right guys out there to also give you the offense that you need? That's what we're going to be searching for in these first couple weekends. And then, having some dual players on this team, with Trenton Wallace and then Dylan Nedved, potential starting shortstop, also being your closer. And then Keaton Anthony is a freshman that has really swung the bat well, had one of the better falls on the team as a true freshman, is also a dual guy. And you'll probably see him give us some innings at some point during a 4-game series this year. So anyway, that's kind of the story, Dargan. I mean, the outfield is going to be a little different, but you're looking at Ben Norman, in center, and Wallace and Zeb Adrian, if Wallace isn't throwing, and then Braden Frazier will likely be out there some, and possibly some other guys. But Austin Martin, you're starting catcher back with 2 good backups in Brett McClary and Tyler Snepp. So a lot of the same faces, just trying to put the lineup out there that's going to work that day. And I think you'll see a lot of matchups this year.
The next question, Coach, from Kyle Hoosman.
Coach, you kind of mentioned some freshmen over the last couple of questions. Is there anyone else that has stood out in practice through the fall and then so far this year that you think can get playing time?
Well, I think I hit on all the ones who have played extremely well to this point. I mean, those 2 young pitchers, Langenberg Sam and then Jackson Payne, those 3 guys for true freshmen have done a really nice job. Tyson James is another pitcher with Keaton Anthony that I think we'll see action on this team. And then it's Michael Seegers and Andy Nelson, and then again Keaton Anthony as a position player as well. But those are the key guys who are playing in very well for us. And then you've got Anthony Mangano, who swings a good bat from the left side, who's going to give us some opportunities there. But that's primarily the guys on a team that's pretty experienced. Those are the guys who've kind of stepped up.
Coach, the next question from Dargan.
Yeah, just another housekeeping thing. Any injuries that stand out outside of Jack?
Let me see. Yeah, we lost a sad one. We lost Reese Lawler, elbow surgery as well. A freshman, true freshman, was having trouble this summer. Kind of lingered into the fall. We thought we were over the hump, but it gave out fairly early in the indoor sets when we were getting back after it. So surgery went well. Looks like 12-month recovery. Hopefully we'll have Reese back at least for a good chunk of next season, because all of us felt like when we recruited Reese that he was a guy that would fight for a Friday night spot at some point in his career, and we all still do. Just going to get delayed a little bit.
Anything else this afternoon for Coach Heller? All right, Coach, we thank you.
I think he's on mute.
Yeah, you're still muted, Kyle.
Sorry about that. I wanted to ask you about the process of coming back for your senior year, for another year, and how that process went with other teammates that decided to come back. Was it a group effort to decide to come back? How did that go?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of conversation amongst ourselves, but I think at the end of the day, we last season, it's no secret we were robbed of what we were shooting for all year. And I think just everyone kind of having that common goal in mind and the opportunity to come back and just kind of chase that dream one last time together was huge. And yeah, to answer your question, there was conversation amongst us, but I think everybody has individual goals as well as a team goal. And we didn't want baseball to be taken away on somebody else's terms. We kind of wanted to take it away on our own terms. So.
The next question, Austin, from Dargan Southard. Dargan, can you unmute, please?
Sorry. You guys kind of you mentioned it, but you guys kind of had to accept that last season finished as an unknown or a TBD. But with just about everybody coming back, how much did the excitement of that and wanting to, build off that little start that you had this year, knowing that it was essentially going to be the same team by the time everybody made their decisions, how much did that push you guys through all this uncertainty that's, been going on for the last year, and then, specifically the last couple of months?
Yeah, no, I think we have a lot of old guys, a lot of returners coming back from last year that did experience the 15 or whatever game season it was. And I think just kind of, like you said, having that yanked away from us makes us a lot more thankful for us having a fall, us having a winter off season, us having a spring coming up on March 5th. I think the end goal in mind has caused us to be a lot more thankful as a team, a lot more thankful as individuals, whatever it may be that we do have in front of us, what we have. And we're just going to take every day for what it's worth and attack the game the best we can.
Austin, we'll circle back to Dargan.
You guys obviously, just experienced firsthand how COVID can shake things up and stop things in its track. As you guys go through the season, and obviously it's compacted with playing 4-game, series on the weekends. How much is everybody morphed, I guess, hearing people say, oh, we need to be flexible. You got to be flexible to actually, embracing that and accepting that for everything it's worth?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's something we've talked about a lot through the offseason, because we know that this season's going to be anything but normal. But since the day I entered on campus, Coach Heller's just preached to us that it's a next man up mentality on this team. And it's basically that this year is going to boil down to survival of the fittest, and whoever can survive the longest while playing decent or good baseball is going to be the ones that come out on top. So I guess heading into the season, we have a huge mentality of next man up, because who knows who's going to get wiped out by COVID. The protocols are pretty strict and certain stuff like that. So everybody's got to be ready to hop out on the field at any given moment. And I think we have depth at literally every single position on the field. So I think we're at a huge advantage heading into the season in that aspect.
Austin, the next question from Steve Batterson.
Austin, what do you see developing with this pitching staff?
I think this is the deepest I've seen our pitching staff since I've been here. We have a handful of starters that can roll out and give us 5 good innings, 6 good innings, whatever it may be, and just ultimately give us a chance to win the game. And then really good in the midsection of the pen and also the back end. We have tons of options. And I think basically the whole point of pitching is to give your team a chance to win. And I think we have a handful of guys, actually more than enough guys, that are going to be able to do that for us. So I'm looking forward to a good year on the mound. And yeah.
Austin, the next question from Joe Healy.
As you started to help the staff prepare the pitching staff, what kind of things have you been talking about in terms of how the pitching is going to shake out with 4 games on the weekend? Not just in terms of, okay, we need 4 starters, but in terms of stacking the bullpen, things like that. I'm curious the conversations that have been going on.
Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest, I haven't been a huge person in those conversations, but I think it goes back to position guys as well. It's a next man up kind of guy. Pitchers are going to be throwing on short rest. Bullpen guys are going to have to throw on short rest, whether it's 2 or 3 outings a weekend, whatever it may be. I think everybody on our staff, both pitching and position wise, we have one goal in mind, and it's to win a game. So I think whatever it takes for individuals to do that, to come together as a team, that's what we're going to do, and we're going to do the best that we can and able to do that.
Anything else this afternoon for Austin Martin? Okay, Austin, I thank you for your time and good luck this season.
Thank you.
All right. Just how much is your guys' patience and, mental focus and everything really been tested, throughout this whole process where there's been a lot of unknowns and a lot of uncertainty?
Yeah, I mean, it's really been tough for us. I mean, we've had to deal with a lot of adversity so far. I mean, obviously the guys from last year, we had our season cut short, and that was really tough. But I mean, we started working in the summer as much as we could. And a lot of guys had their summer teams shut down, so they had to find places to, work out and continue to work on their game at home and stuff like that. But I mean, we were lucky enough to come back this fall and have a whole fall without just working, getting better as a team. And I think we were in a really good place. And then this winter was big for us. A lot of guys, stayed around and worked out as much as possible. And I think it's really put us in a good position going forward with this upcoming season.
Isaiah, the next question from Joe Healy.
Hey, Isaiah. I'm curious if you have a feel or if you've talked as a team through how the schedule will be a little bit different this year with 4-game weekends and going right into Big Ten play. How have those conversations been filtered into your preparation for the season, and what do you think the challenges of that schedule will be?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be different for a lot of us. I mean, we're not used to just jumping right into Big Ten play. Obviously, every single game is going to matter. It always does, but especially this year with only playing Big Ten teams, we don't have midweek, so we're going to have to rely on a lot of guys on the weekends with possible 4-game series. Every game is going to matter. And I mean, we just take it one game at a time, just really trying to win each game individually. And, you know, if we can do that, I think we're going to be in a good spot.
The next question, Izaya from Dargan.
Yeah, just, obviously I think just about everybody came back, minus a few guys here and there. Given that, last year you guys kind of had to accept that it was, the unknown, you don't know what would have happened the rest of the year. How much did everybody coming back kind of reignite that excitement through all of this uncertainty that, even though last year got cut short, we're essentially bringing the same team back with the same expectations?
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, last year when our season got cut short, we were in a really good spot. I mean, we just came off a couple big wins against some ranked opponents, and we felt really good about our team. And then coming into this year, I mean, we had a lot of our guys returning. We felt really good. We have a really good pitching staff, really good lineup, and then our freshman class is really good. I think it's one of the best that it's been recently. And I think, I mean, with the veteran guys coming back and leading us, I think we're going to, make a run at this thing.
The next question, Izaya from Joe Healy.
Kind of similar to what Dargan just asked you. I'm curious if the situation being that you didn't have team activities for so long because of COVID, you come back and it's a little bit different. Have you sensed that this off season, this lead up to the season has been a little more player led versus coach led in a lot of ways? And how do you think that'll be expressed when you guys take the field?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've had to do a lot of stuff on our own. We've had a lot of, practices where the coaches couldn't be there. A lot of guys had to work out by themselves, but I really think we have a good group of captains that have done a great job of, keeping us on track and, just keep reminding us of our end goal. So, I mean, I don't think that COVID or anything like that has been really an issue for us. I mean, we've just came together as a team and, I think we're in a really good spot.
Izaya, the next question from Dargan.
Yeah, obviously, your versatility was pretty prevalent, going back to 2019, playing some second base and first base. Just how has that part of your game improved, and how much is that something you now take pride in, being able to kind of, while the bat stays consistent, being able to move around and kind of help out where is best needed in the field?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I've always been confident as a hitter. And I think coming in my first year here, Coach Heller and I sat down and we talked about how I'm going to have to become a better defender if I want to be in the lineup every day. And I think my first year here really helped me out defensively. I got a lot better. I played first base, obviously, but I practiced a lot at second. So going into last year, I was really comfortable and really confident there. And I played every single game at second last year. And I think going into this year, I feel really comfortable playing second base. I mean, I can even play first base if needed, but I think this year it's going to be really, I mean, guys are going to have to step up whenever needed because, everything's unknown. We don't know who's going to be there, who's not going to be there. So I think just being versatile is really big for our team and our end goals.
Anything else for Izaya Fullard? All right, Izaya, thanks again for your.
Hey, Trenton, good to chat with you guys again. With Jack being out this year, obviously the weekend rotation is kind of wide open for somebody to step up and really be that Friday night guy. How much is everybody in contention embracing that competition, embracing, what's available on the weekend this year?
Yeah, I think as a pitching staff, it's only made everyone better. I think we have a quality group of guys that could all potentially fill in that role on Friday night and give us a chance to win the game every time. And that's the biggest thing for us. We're really pushing each other to be the Friday guy, but even though only one person's going to be able to throw that game, I believe we've got 3 or 4, maybe even 5 guys that could potentially throw and start the game for us on Friday.
Trenton, the next question from Rob Howe.
Trenton, obviously this has been a very unusual last year. How have you guys kind of handled the adversity and gotten yourself prepared for this spring?
I think we just try to keep it as normal as possible. I mean, looking back, obviously in the fall, it was definitely a different fall for me personally being here. This is my 4th year, and in the past, it wasn't the same. But I think the more we came together as a group and tried to make it similar to the ones in the past, I think that's what pushed us to get through the adversity and just continue to do everything that we need to do on a daily basis.
Trenton, the next question from Steve Batterson.
And how do you feel like your off season has gone, and where do you feel like you're at heading into kind of a different start to the season with Big Ten teams?
I think the off season was pretty similar to ones in the past for me. I mean, I made jumps in the summer going into the fall, and then into the winter coming into season. I think I've put myself in a good position. I think as for season coming up, I think it's a great opportunity for us to go right into Big Ten, as I think we've prepared well enough to where we're going to be a top contender in the league this year.
Trenton, the next question from Dargan Southard.
Yeah, just, obviously the Big Ten kind of dragged its feet a little bit on releasing the baseball schedule. You guys knew it was going to come at some point, but didn't really leave you guys a whole lot of time to prepare. As you watch the rest of the college baseball world get started and kind of in that limbo position here over the last couple of months, specifically, how was that just, knowing, I guess, that I'm sure that anticipation was building, but having to wait, a little longer than everybody else?
Yeah, it definitely was kind of difficult looking on ESPN and seeing other teams play each other right now, but I think it brought us closer together as a group. I mean, having to start the season 2 weeks later than normal, yes, it's very different, and going right into Big Ten only excites us, though. I think the possibility of potentially going right into season and being the most prepared team is on the table for us. And I think we've done everything that we can to be in a spot to where we're prepared and ready to start Big Ten games.
You look at the schedule and, obviously everybody knows what Michigan did 2 years ago. You start with them right off the bat, and, there's a lot of big games in that first month, and throwing in the fact that there's no Big Ten tournament this year, I would imagine the regular season stretch is going to be even more magnified. I know you guys don't need any more sense of urgency given how little you've played in the last little bit, but how much is that kind of the case given the truncated schedule and, the importance of every regular season game, even more so than normal?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we really think about that. Honestly, I think our focus is what can we do on a daily basis at practice right now to prepare ourselves for the season. And we try to focus on ourselves as a team and don't really think about our competition right now. We will focus and prepare for our competition, obviously on game week in scouting, but our focus is how can we make ourselves the best that we can before we're going into that competition.
Any other questions this afternoon for Trenton Wallace? All right, Trenton, thanks again for your time.